YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Father Dark, and today we're here on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon, and with this video, I'm going to be trying to do what I usually do on this channel, which is tell you the truth. A lot of people that make content, they are more worried about clicks and views. They're more worried about trying to get some type of, get flown out to the Marvel Rivals events and get access to the characters early and grow their channels that way, which I also want to preface and say I don't have any issues with any content creators. We don't do any beef or animosity here on this channel. I'm not calling anybody out specifically. I believe that the people that watch my content are actually intelligent enough to decipher fact from fiction on their own. I just kind of sit here and this channel for me is very therapeutic. That's what I do. I sit here and I talk to you all like you're sitting in here in my game room with me. You're on the couch or in a chair or whatever. And we're just having a normal conversation. I honestly believe people that come to this channel come here because they're tired of the nonsense and they're tired of a bunch of people sitting there lying to their face. And I get it. It's the world that we live in. We live in a world where it's all clicks and views. People create clickbait. They create thumbnails that mislead you. They sit here and tell you that you're the problem and it's a skill issue. GG, get better. All that kind of stuff. And here, sometimes that is the case. Sometimes, being honest, because that's the thing, is trying to be as, like I said, keyword is trying to be as unbiased as possible. Sometimes it is a skill issue. Just with myself, I have to learn all the time. I constantly go back and watch my own gameplay, watch my own VODs, and a lot of it is because I put this up as background for you guys, the background aesthetics, just to have something to watch while I'm talking, and for the comments, people that say, oh, even though you won the match, you spent the whole entire game and you didn't use your ult. Okay, if I'm plowing through a team, what's the point of that really? It's just to use it. Anyway, the point is that here on this channel, just want to tell you things, how I see them and what's going on behind the scenes without all the extra fluff and all that BS. So with that being said, just like the thumbnail says, why are streamers and other content creators lying to you? And it's very simple. Yesterday I got a comment from a guy and he goes, I went to this guy's page. I've been watching him for a while, trying to get tips and information on how to be better, which I don't know who the person was that he was watching, but he said they had a coach in their name or something. And there's a lot of people that you can't single anybody. I know a lot of people, when I say coach, they say, oh, well, it was this guy or that girl or whatever. We don't know who it is. And that is kind of irrelevant. The point is that there's this theme amongst a lot of content creators where they're constantly trying to tell you that it's a you issue all the time. And once again, it could be a you issue, but there's sometimes when you do everything that you can possibly do and the other team was just stacked up. They had a team full of people that knew exactly what they were doing, and you may know what you're doing, but the other 5 people don't. They're not working together. Maybe they're tilted from the previous match, whatever the case is. So to sit there and tell you that when you have done pretty much everything, and nobody's perfect, so there's never going to be an individual that does every single thing right. We can all sit back and analyze each other's gameplay and say, well, you should have done this and you should have done that. People analyze my gameplay in the background even when I win and I'm MVP. And they still sit back and analyze my gameplay, just even though the video has nothing to do with that. So that's just something that this community likes to do. I didn't have to deal with that as much when I made Call of Duty content. People would usually just watch it. If you drop 20 or 30 eliminations in a game, yeah, I might have got eliminated a couple times, might have made a mistake, but people weren't so critical of it. But in this game, everybody kind of wants to be very critical of each other and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. There's nothing wrong when people say things to me like that. I have zero issue with it. I pay it no mind simply because it's all a learning experience. People in the comments leave tips and tricks all the time, and I just take those as advice and learn from them and add them to my arsenal of information that I have with the game. But still, like I was saying, you can't sit back and just lie to your audience and expect that eventually they're not going to eventually figure that out. So my main thing is, why are content creators so afraid of telling people the truth in regards to the fact that matchmaking is manipulated? And it's not just this game. It happens all the time. I just give you guys an example, and I know I bring up Call of Duty a lot, but that's because that was the game that we primarily played before this. I played it for about 5 years straight and saw it go from, the beginning when we had Modern Warfare 2019 and Warzone was implemented up until the point where I just kind of got to where I said, I'm good on this game. And it wasn't necessarily because of matchmaking. You have 2 different types of matchmaking nowadays that I see that's very prevalent. You have skill-based matchmaking, you have EOMM, and they might use a little bit of both because there's people who are arguing, let's say, well, Call of Duty has EOMM. But the thing is that the reason why I say that it has skill-based matchmaking, the reason why pretty much any video that you will find about Call of Duty in regards to its matchmaking and it being SBMM is because that's how it works pretty much overall. When you are past a certain level of skill, when you slide cancel, when you bunny hop, when you use certain loadouts like the meta loadouts all the time, when you have mastery camos, when you put a certain amount of time and energy into the game and have a certain KD, they put you up in the top bracket. And no matter what you do, no matter how long you're away from the game, what's going on, you're going to consistently be around those people. Now, I have a lot of friends that play Call of Duty, but the friends I have that play Call of Duty are not on my skill level. They're all very low negative KDs. I'm talking about extremely low, like 0.5 KDs and below. These are people that just load in, they have a good time, they don't watch content videos, they don't do any of that stuff. They just load in, they have a good time, and they play. If they die 3 times the amount that they eliminate people, they're perfectly content with that, and they move on. Now, just for an example, when Call of Duty first came out, or not first came out, but when Modern Warfare 2019 came out and Warzone started coming out, a lot of people started noticing that the lobbies that people were playing in seemed a lot different than their own. And you had a lot of content creators that would just sit there and tell them, no, it's a skill issue. If you were in my lobby, you would perform the same exact way. I'm sorry, you wouldn't perform the same exact way because you're not as good as me. And they really spread this lie for a long time. And eventually what happened was that people started realizing that you could also manipulate the system to your own advantage if you did certain things. And one of those things, for example, was called two-boxing. Now, two-boxing is when you take a new account or it could be like a PlayStation or an Xbox. So let's say you're on PC. You could take an Xbox or a PlayStation. You can start a new account, and it could be a new account or an account that has an extremely low KD. You team up with that account, meaning you join a party with them. You let them be the party leader, and then you back them out, or you can just keep them in and let them, die over and over again, further bringing their KD down. And what that's going to do is it's going to put you in with people that are low skilled at the game. These are people that don't have any movement. They have zero awareness. Some of them might even have disabilities sometimes. And there's these lobbies are what a lot of people like to call protected lobbies. They're lobbies that people of high skill don't ever get to see. You only ever get to see lobbies where people are equally as skilled as you. That is skill-based matchmaking. And there's also other ways around it too. Sometimes people would play with VPNs. They would play with a VPN and they might get into lobbies in places where people have extremely high pings because they don't have servers close to them, or et cetera. There's a couple of different ways to get around it, or a handful of different ways, I would say, to get around it. And people would utilize these to be able to drop these high 30, 40, 50 elimination games. And the reason why that relates to Marvel Rivals is because of the EOMM and the fact that in videos that content creators will make, they will show you the games that they did really good in. They don't show you the bad games. They don't show you the games where their teammates weren't doing anything at all and were going negative and refused to swap, or weren't shooting flyers in the sky while they're tanking, or whatever the case is. They're going to show you these things to make it look good. And if you have to think about it, just think about it like when you see a commercial for a burger. Right? You see a commercial for this burger. Do you know how much energy goes into making that burger look appealing to you? Now, when you get the burger, it's actually really sloppy. It's got ketchup dripping out of it. The cheese is barely melted on it or anything. I mean, sometimes it may be, but you get the point that I'm making, is that they actually sit here and they put pins down in the burger. I was watching a video on this the other day randomly on Twitter. That, they put pins down and stuff and purposely position everything to make it look good, to make you want to go to this restaurant or fast food, whatever it is, and purchase this burger. And that's understandable. That's a business thing. We've been doing this for years. Why do you think that they put a model that looks what most people would consider to be very visually appealing in a dress, and then you may go get the dress and you're like, oh, this doesn't look as good. And it could be anything, t-shirt, dress, whatever, whoever's listening, guy, girl. You get the point that I'm making. It's the same exact thing with content creation. If you're a content creator, see, me personally, I don't have an issue with swapping games. I did the same thing. Like I said, this channel was built off of Warzone and Call of Duty. And I got to a point where I got tired of Warzone and Call of Duty. It just years and years. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't the matchmaking. It was just simply the developers of the game just not listening to their base. And almost as if they would say, well, this is something that people want. Let's do the complete opposite of it. Let's take away features that we add in that people clearly like. We're going to take those away. And then in a year, when our player base is abysmal, then we'll add those features back in just to make them happy and try to bring them back in. And that, to me, that's just like, why are you doing that? Like, that's silly. But that's neither here. I mean, it is here or there, but still, it's a situation where, like I said, a lot of content creators are afraid that if they switch games or they play the things that they really want to play, that their base is not going to follow. There may be a lot of people that truly want to sit around and play a game that's maybe it's like Dead by Daylight or just some random game that maybe there's not and that was a bad example because I'm sure there's a lot of people that still watch that game, but just think of some random game that people are not really, it's not high up on the Twitch viewership, or if you look at like top games that people are watching on YouTube or whatever, a lot of people aren't watching it. So a lot of people may play a game just because they know that there's a huge base there for it. See, I just happened to actually really enjoy Marvel Rivals. I enjoyed COD when it was at its peak. And then eventually it got to a point to where I feel like it just kind of became too big for, for its britches. And it just started getting to a point where everybody got tired of it. But, the thing is that a lot of these creators, like I said, they're afraid that if they switch to something else, that their base won't follow. Now, you do have some creators that play whatever they want, and that's because they've learned, the creator has learned that people will follow them wherever they go and will watch them no matter what they do. And they may find a game that they really enjoy and like, and they may stick to that or whatever, but you have these variety streamers, variety content creators, and that's because it doesn't matter what they play. They could go outside and throw a ball up against a wall over and over again, and people would still watch it because they just thoroughly enjoy that content creator. But a lot of creators are trying as hard as they can to be perceived as being really good at this one particular game, hoping that people will come to them and, kind of praise them and watch their content and study it. So saying all that to say, and I know people get to the point, I have to preface stuff prior to getting to a point, because if I don't, people will come in the comments and they'll say, well, you didn't talk about this. And there's still only so much that I can cover, but still at the same time though, we like to take our time here on this channel. If that's not your thing, go watch a short or something. A lot of times I try to summarize it in shorts, or other people will. Still though, a lot of these creators, they're going to sit here and they're going to build this game up and they're going to make it seem like it's perfect. Now, do I dislike this game? No, I play it every day. I love this game. I've put a lot of time and energy into it. I've built a big base of people that, or I'd say a modest base, but still from where it was when it was just Call of Duty content to now, we've made pretty good growth. So still, I love this game, but just like anything else in life, it's not perfect. There's flaws. There's things that we should call out. And if you don't, they'll just stay the same forever, because how will people know if you don't just call them out? And like I said, is a lot of times when people are complaining, is that just skill issue? Yes, there's always going to be in a competitive game, where I know a lot of people say Marvel Rivals is not competitive, but it's a game where it's you versus other people. So that by definition, you're competing against other people. In any game like that, there's going to be people who are going to lose. And when they lose, they're going to get salty. And when they're salty, they're going to say, oh, the game's trash. I uninstalled it. I don't want to play anymore. But a lot of gripes that people have with the game they're legitimate gripes to have. Like me sitting back talking about the fact that EOMM is a real thing. It exists. More and more people every day come into my comments saying, I used to think that you were just full of BS about this, but then it happened to me and I went on a 20L losing streak when nothing at all changed, but I just could not seem to get normal teammates that wanted to play the game. And then eventually I go back on a 20-win 21 streak, and that's just not organic. I've been playing games for longer than the majority of you that listen to my content, and the keyword majority have existed. I remember what organic matchmaking was like when it was a real thing, when there were no algorithms. And if they were, they only existed on certain, websites and stuff like that. But they weren't, it wasn't like they had been implemented into gaming yet. And now it's just an everyday part of like what we go through. And like I said, all these creators, they're going to sit here and tell you all of this stuff to blame anything except the game, because what happens is in these back rooms, the people who create these games, they're looking at these content creators, and they're not going to sit here and invite them out to stuff. They're not going to make them their top creator that they feature and say, here's the new character and we're going to, whatever. It's politics to it. And rightfully so. Why would a business sit here and be like, hey, Joe Blow, a content creator, you made a video or 20 videos bashing us? Well, yeah, come on out to this event that we're having or whatever. No, they want you to kiss up to them and suck up to them. And once again, do I think the game is bad? No, love it. But I have loved lots of games where I could still sit back and go, man, they should really up this or change that or modify this or whatever the case is. And like I said, here we don't try to feed you a bunch of BS. We try to tell you the truth and just tell it to you straight and plain. It's hard for me to just sit in your face, and I imagine that I'm sitting in you all's faces talking to you. It's extremely hard for me. Extremely hard to sit here and tell you, oh yeah, you dropped 40 and 3 and your teammates all went like 7 and 16 and were afraid to push the point and all this stuff. Yeah, to be in your rank, you should be able to carry everyone, or you don't deserve that rank against a team of people that no one's having to carry anyone. Everyone's doing their part and working efficiently. That's BS. It's just BS. And like I said, there is no outside motivation here. Nobody's paying me except YouTube and TikTok. Those are the people that pay my bills. And really, at the end of the day, it's me paying my bills. I've built this platform dolo, completely by myself. And I appreciate every single person that has watched my content, commented, whether it was negative, in between, good, appreciative, whatever. The people that are in the Discord every day, that keep that alive, I appreciate all of you. And that is why the promise that I made to you when I first started making videos, telling you I'm going to tell you straight up how this is. And I've kept that promise, and I will continue to. I'm not going to sit here and tell you everything is your fault. Now, when something is your fault, if you say, hey, I'm going to drop a VOD in your Discord, I want you to watch it and tell me what I could have done. If there was nothing you could have done, I'm like, yeah, there's nothing you could have done. That was just an L all day long. Now, if I see that you're doing this or you're doing that, and that's something that you could work on or whatever, I'll tell you. But it's no different when it comes to the matchmaking. It's no different when it comes to, should healers have went on strike? Are they being disrespected? Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, they're just being crybabies. No, they're literally asking for basic decency, to be appreciated and respected the same way that everyone else wants to be appreciated and respected in the game. Now, is every healer perfect? No. Is every DPS perfect? No. Is every tank perfect? No. Nobody's perfect. There is no monolith where you can just say, well, healers do this, or DPS do that, or tanks do. Not everybody does everything that everybody else does. People talk about Spider-Man all the time. They're constantly, oh, well, Spider-Man is so selfish. Oh, well, every Spider-Man does this, every Spider-Man does that. And in the same breath, they'll talk about the enemy Spider-Man and say how the enemy Spider-Man is such a nuisance and how he's constantly picking on the back line. Even if that's the one that's on their team and he's doing the same exact thing, they'll still blame it on him. So DPS do get blamed sometimes. The only role that I feel like doesn't get blamed really is tanks. I don't know if that's just because it's just see, I didn't play Overwatch. So I know a lot of you will sit back and say, well, this is just Overwatch 2.0, or this is all just happening again, or this is the same argument. I didn't play all that. So this is all new to me. And I don't understand what the dynamic is between healers and DPS and why tanks kind of get left out of it. I don't think I've ever even honestly heard someone complain about tanks before. And tanks seem like they're very appreciative of everything, and they're just kind of, it almost kind of feels like mom and dad are fighting, and tanks are just a kid that's sitting there going, oh my God, please stop, And there's definitely this fear in the community, and I think a big part of it has to do with Overwatch and how it was handled and why it began to die off. And I know that there's a lot of different reasons why that happened. A lot of people say different things. Some people will say, well, it was the devs and they weren't putting out enough new content. It was the fact that they listened to people on Reddit and they nerfed this and buffed this and et cetera, et cetera. I've heard of so many different reasons. I've lost count of why people think Overwatch kind of died. Some people feel like it's not dead, that it's still a great game. I wouldn't know. I haven't played Overwatch in a while, so I can't sit here and say that it is or that it isn't. I simply know that I didn't really find much interest in it when I played it. I literally only played it because friends played it. And with this game, it's completely different for me. I fully enjoy this game. And I don't know if it's because of the fact that it's the Marvel IP, so I really enjoy the different characters and stuff personally, or if it's just because the gameplay is different in enough ways to where it makes me enjoy it, or it could be a combination of both. But what I do know is that I have never, I have seen this before. I've seen it with Call of Duty. I saw the same exact thing. I saw people sit back and lie to people in their faces and tell them, oh yeah, man, it's just a skill issue. That's why you're not dropping 30 in your lobbies. And it's like, no, I'm only dropping 8 or 9 or 10 because everyone in my lobby is equally skilled. Whereas everyone in your lobby has never touched a video game in their life before and is logging on for the 30 minutes a week that they're allotted to play because they have a bunch of other stuff going on in their lives. Whereas every single person in my lobby is a TTV or a Twitch or YouTube or some type of streamer or content creator who is equally, if not better, skilled than myself. So no, I'm not going to be dropping 30s and 40s. And instead of just coming out and saying that, whereas nowadays in COD, it's just normal information. Skill-based matchmaking exists. People will make videos and tell you how to manipulate it, and you could do it yourself and see the results firsthand. We see other content creators. There's one guy on TikTok, I can't remember his name, but he's like straight up about it. He doesn't lie about it at all. There's even been times where I've seen him on squads. He will load in with 3 bot accounts that are his. They just have random names with the starter skin that you get. And he'll load in and he's straight up about it. He doesn't even hide it a lot. And it's really funny because that's what a lot of them used to do. They used to hide their screen so you couldn't see what it looked like in the lobby. And then once the match had started and was loading in, then they would back the other people out and make it seem like they were solo squatting. Like the amount of work that people will do behind the scenes to try to manipulate their audience instead of just telling them straight up and respecting them, because they know that there's going to be a portion of people that will say, oh, well, he's not getting these 30s and 40s organically. He's getting in bot lobbies and then he's doing it that way versus doing it in his own lobbies. And the thing is that there is no one who's doing that organically. Just like with a lot of these content creators, go to any of their streams. Any of these people who tell you that it's just a you issue, go to their streams. More than likely they have 1 or maybe even 2 people that they're queuing up with who are good, who are on their level or better. They have multiple alt accounts. So as soon as that account gets flagged for losers queue and they're just in it and they're losing, they're going to switch accounts. Then you have this other group of people that as soon as they get 2 losses, they leave for the day and then they come back tomorrow and the game magically starts letting them win a bunch to keep them happy. And like I've said a million times, from a business standpoint, I understand why these companies are doing it. Do I agree with it? Do I like it? Am I advocating for it? No. But there is a difference when you can be unbiased and you can look at something and say, if I was in their shoes and I didn't play this game for fun, this game was a way for me to make money, would I be encouraging this type of matchmaking? And the answer is yes. And the reason why is because a lot of people in competitive games, they're going to be constantly taking L's because there's always a small group. Just think about it. We have top 500. Can everybody reach top 500? No. If there's hundreds of thousands, millions of people playing a game, that is a microscopic drop in the water of people that are actually good enough to reach that rank. So what's the answer to that? Skill-based matchmaking or EOMM. You either give everybody a 50% win rate where you say, hey, here, we're going to, not everybody, there are exceptions to it. There are people that have higher win rates, but they're very few. Most people are having higher win rates. I'm sorry, or 50% win rates. And same thing with skill-based matchmaking. How do you stop people from wanting to quit the game? I've lost track of how many times me and my friends have squatted up, and this was them asking me to. I usually like to play video games alone, but they would call me, hey man, I've been doing so good, man. I've been doing so good at Call of Duty. I got way better. The other day I dropped like 10 or 15, and you know, last time we played, I only dropped like 2 or 3 with like 17 deaths. So I want to load back up and show you how good I've gotten. People love to try to, you know, hit me up and say, yeah, I want to show you how good I've gotten. So I'd say, you sure? They go, yeah. We'd load up. I'd let them host. Now, the lobbies would try to be in the middle somewhere, would try to calculate and accommodate for me being a positive KD player and the other person being a low KD player. So it would put us in the middle. For me, the lobbies are easier because it's somewhere in the middle, below where I'm at. But for them, it's now become twice as hard. And what happened every single time that we got into a match? I think I'm starting to get a headache, or I got to go grab something to eat. Now, this is the same people that just hit me up. They were so eager to play 5 minutes ago. But then they just get absolutely demolished. They can't do anything. The loadouts that they were using that aren't meta loadouts 5 minutes ago were working for them, but now it's not working for them anymore because they're going up against people who actually they're watching videos on like JGod and stuff where he's actually breaking down on a graph what SMG and AR delete faster than these other ones. So even if you do get into a fair 1v1, it's just not going to work for you. These are people that know how to do all of the slide canceling, bunny hopping, all that kind of stuff, drop shotting. They possess controllers that have paddles on them and stuff, so they can do stuff that you just cannot do on the standard controller unless you're playing claw or something like that, which most people are not doing. They're just loading in normally. trying to have a good time. They're not alert. They don't have the best headset, so they can't hear people on different floors running up on them or coming up a zip line or whatever. Everything is a surprise to them. Meanwhile, I'm having the time of my life, dropping double digits, just like magically these content creators are doing. And like I said, it's just funny to me that this is where we've come. Everybody wants to be a content creator. Everybody wants to be a streamer, and everybody is trying so hard to get this leg up on somebody else to try to seem better than everybody else to their audience. And this doesn't apply for people that make like funny content and stuff. It's just that a lot of people, that's what they think. They think, well, I'm going to be the best gamer, and even if I can't be the best gamer, I'm going to make it seem as if I am, et cetera, et cetera. And these same people, I'm always curious. I'm like, hey, you know what? You say you're that good. Let me go to your stream. Let me see you do all this stuff that you're saying that you can do by yourself. And like I said, what do you know? They got multiple teammates that they're playing with. They're still losing. The majority of time that I go to these people's streams, when they have the win rate counter, like on the side, not win rate, but their wins and losses, like the counter for it, usually there's more losses than wins. And also, what do you know? They got numerous alt accounts. Every time you've seen any video of mine, there has never once go through. I dare you to try to find a time where I've used an alt account. It does not exist. I don't have one. YouTube X Father Dark X is my only account. That is the only account that I have. I'm not used to having to make alt accounts and manipulate and rig the game. And you hear people that say, oh, well, they make an alt account because they reach their peak and they're just trying to, well, that's funny. Why are they not at that peak yet? Why are they just switching accounts when they lose a couple of games? That's interesting. Once again, I really think and believe that the majority, I'm sure there's some of you that aren't, but the majority of people that watch my content are smart enough to decipher the fact from the fiction. And if you can't, if you just want to live in this naive world where because Joe Schmo made a video saying that if you just believe hard enough, like you're in some Pixar movie or Disney movie, that things are going to go your way every time. And if you just get good enough, you'll be able to carry when you get people on your team that are literally not even trying to play the game and refuse to do anything different against people that are goated out of their minds. It's just not going to happen. You're just going to be where you are. And that's fine. But that was my little rant for the day. I'm going to have to wrap this video up. But we're coming up on 30 minutes anyway. So I'm definitely going to have to wrap it up. But I'm getting construction done on my house. So they're sitting here drilling and doing a bunch of stuff, which is what they're supposed to be doing. But I don't want you guys to have to hear that in the background. So let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think that it's just whatever you guys believe? Let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. I love your thoughts and opinions. Even when we disagree, I still don't mind you being there. It's hard to respond to everybody. I try to initially, but then a lot of times the comment section just gets out of hand. And every time I check, there's 200 or 300 extra comments than there were the last time. So it's impossible for me to reply to everybody, but I do try to reply to most people. If you definitely want to be able to join in on the conversations like this, I'd recommend going to my channel, clicking the more info part at the top. You'll see a link to my Discord. Join that Discord. We have an active Discord. A lot of people in there. They're constantly looking for teammates and stuff like that so that you don't have to sit here and solo queue, because solo queuing it's just completely pointless. You're going to win some and you're going to lose some. Not saying that you shouldn't win some and you shouldn't lose some, but it's going to be predetermined for you. And there's no amount of anything that you're going to be able to do in some of these matches to control anything. So you're better off just trying to find a group of people that are like-minded and chill. And we try to really get the people that aren't chill out of there quick as possible, because that's just not the kind of community that I'm trying to foster and build. So like I said, join the Discord. Like I said, and it'd be a lot easier. We have a community stage and stuff that we tend to do events on and stuff where we get together and we actually talk. You can send me messages and at me and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot easier to get my attention and communicate. And like I said, I don't even mind communicating when I'm not one of those creators where you have to agree with everything I say. Sometimes I'm wrong. I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. There's a lot of stuff that I'm wrong on. I tell you guys all the time, if I'm wrong about something, feel free to let me know in the comment section. That's what it's there for. If you agree, that's fine, but this is not an echo chamber. I don't want it to be. I just sit back and I tell you guys from my experience what I know, what I think, and what I believe. And like I said, I try to talk to you as if you're sane adults that are capable of seeing the fake from the real, you know, in life, and just especially in stuff like this. So like I said, I'm gonna wrap it up though. That's all I have to say. But this is Father Dark. I'm out, and I appreciate you all for listening. Catch you on the next one.